Welcome back to Good Better Broker at UWM Live 2025. Pleased to be joined by Nancy Aguirre. She is a mortgage advisor and the broker owner of Your Better Mortgage out of Miami, Florida. Nancy, great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Nancy, what do you think about UWM Live, the atmosphere, the energy, and all of these mortgage professionals from around the country gathered in one place?
I think it's such a wonderful opportunity that they're hosting this event, bringing brokers from all over the United States to learn, to get better, to grow. It's something that I personally appreciate.
And you probably appreciate it even more, Nancy, considering your background, because you are not even 2 years into your career in the wholesale channel. You left retail, you told me, because you were turning business down. How do you reflect on that experience?
Well, it was the best decision we could have ever made, 100%. It was a difficult decision because you have been ingrained with this idea that retail was the best service, best operations, best rate. And all of that turned out to be false. And moving into the broker channel, we learned that there was so much more opportunity, more availability of products, better pricing, better service, better technology.
When you and I spoke a couple of weeks ago, you gave me a great line about what it's like going from working in retail to being a broker owner. What is that line?
Well, pretty much I got tired of leaving my future in the hands of someone else, and ironically now I have the future of other people's lives in my hands. But it's something that I take very seriously. It's what really compels me to keep learning, growing, and really striving to be our best so that our loan officers could be their best.
That's impactful to me because, like you said, you went from a business where you kind of felt like you were losing control, and now not only do you have control over your own business, you're responsible for the livelihoods of the people who work for your brokerage. When you think about that, not just, the responsibility that you have, but really the ability to shape the business the way you see fit. What's that like for you?
Well, it could be daunting at times, right? But like I said, it's really what challenges me to make sure that I don't remain comfortable, right? That we are being resourceful, that we are dedicating time to developing ourselves, developing our loan officers, helping them push outside of their comfort zone so that they can be the best mortgage advisor for their clients and their realtor partners.
What does it mean to you to have an opportunity as a broker now to find a place for every single loan?
Well, first, we get to say yes a lot more, right? So our clients are happier, our realtor partners are happier, and we're impacting lives, right? So it's important to help our clients achieve the home ownership dream. And being able to say yes it's a very rewarding feeling.
I'm always curious about how people bring in business. So describe for us your business model now as an independent mortgage broker.
We are relationship-based. Relationships are very important to us. So with our realtor partners, with our clients, we really want to have a positive customer service experience for them because we want to have that repeat business, right? We want them to be our number one fan. And it's what makes this that much more rewarding, that much more enjoyable to get to work with your friends, essentially.
What is most enjoyable to you at this point? And again, it's early, not even 2 years, but what has been most enjoyable about being a broker owner so far?
Honestly, seeing the success of our other loan officers. It is by far the most rewarding thing, just seeing them shatter their goals and envision, a much greater future for themselves and opportunities, and seeing their confidence increase and just seeing all of the positive feedback that we're getting from their realtor partners. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Speaking of the realtors, everybody has a little bit of a different approach to this. How do you at your company add value to your real estate partners?
Well, we want to be a resource for them, right? So back to what I said, we really do dedicate a lot of time in staying on top of program changes, new products that are available, how is the market moving, and helping educate them so that they can have better conversations with their clients, right? And then we also provide them with tons of resources. We do weekly meetings with them. We have our CRM. We have an application that helps them keep their leads organized. So we really try to be a tool that helps them be more successful in their business.
There are some originators out there who may shy away from tougher files. You are the exact opposite. You love the tough files. Why is that the case? And also, how does that help your business?
Well, it's where we shine. I think anyone can close an easy deal, and we like those too. But those difficult deals, like problem solving, just making someone's dream come true when they thought it was impossible, when they got turned down or they were misadvised. It really solidifies a relationship with that realtor partner, first and foremost. It really helps you demonstrate that you are knowledgeable, that you are a trusted mortgage advisor. And so, yeah, we love to be challenged. We love the pressure.
I love that message. The fact that it endears the realtors to you. It establishes loyalty when you're able to get a tougher deal closed for them. One more thing I got for you here, and this is again about being an owner. You are intentionally slim with your margins. Why is that the case?
We want to win deals. We want to win as many deals as possible. And so we feel that the more families that we're able to help, the more our name will get out there, the greater our brand will grow. And that's really what it comes down to.
You're doing a lot of amazing things. You're doing it the right way. And it seems like you're really enjoying yourself too. So we're so happy to have you in the broker channel. We're so happy to have had the opportunity to chat with you here at UWM Live. Keep up the great work. And thanks again for joining us. Nancy Aguirre with Your Better Mortgage.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Back here on Good Better Broker at UWM Live as we bring in Shane Ouimet. He is a loan officer with Better Rate Mortgage based here in Metro Detroit. Shane, great to have you with us.
Pleasure to be here, Justin.
So, an interesting story about how you came to be on this podcast. For the first time ever this year, we did a little social media campaign asking people to recommend a client who should appear on Good Better Broker at UWM Live. And your name came up not once, but a couple of times by colleagues. You were recommended by other people in the industry. And I've talked to a couple of them and even a couple others who are just really in awe of you and your story and really admire everything that you've done in the time you've been in the business. So before we even get to that, how does that make you feel?
Amazing, honestly. I really don't view myself like that. I don't think I'm this amazing person with this great story or anything like that. So it's really humbling. I mean, it's hard to stand out in this business, I think, and to know that so many people like me or mess with me, whatever, it's very humbling, and I'm honored.
So you've been in the business now for 6 years, and you come from a hospitality background, Shane. So tell me, how did that experience help you when you got into this business?
They're very related, surprisingly. I would say that it helped me a ton. I was bartender for 10 years. This was like my early 20s when I started bartending. And when I would go up to tables at first, I would shake when I had to talk to people. I'm shaking. I'm terrified. I have no idea what to say. But after 10 years, I can command a conversation now. I know how to charm. I know how to charisma. Not only that, but you've got multitasking, multiple tables. You've got high stress. Even when you're a waiter, everything falls on your shoulders. If the steak is overcooked, it's my fault, whether it's my fault or not, High stress, sales, multitasking, hustling, tips, you're earning your money. So it's all really, really relatable. And I think it was really a training ground for me to be here today.
tell me how you went from a person who would literally shake when you went up to a table at the restaurant to now being able to network with complete strangers and work those relationships into referrals and everything like that.
Well, practice makes perfect, and confidence. You know, I've built so much confidence over the years by just being able to talk to people and have different conversations and realize that people are not just going to be mean to me for talking to them. And you just got to get through those fears, and the more you get through them, the more you'll master them.
So let's get into a bit of your story now, because when you first got into the business, you were also still bartending. So
yes.
Tell us, what was that time like?
It was honestly an amazing time in my life. Looking back, you know, you don't really appreciate that stuff until you get through it. But it was an amazing time in my life. I got really lucky, and I'll keep the story short, but I was bartending for 10 years. A gentleman that got me into the business named Mark Bigelow. Shout out to Mark Bigelow. I love you, man. Thank you for everything. He came into the restaurant where I was working at, not once, but twice. And both times said, you need to come work for me as a mortgage broker. And the second time he did it, I was like, yes, whatever, anything to get out of the restaurant at that point, basically. But it was an amazing time. That was when refis were king. He introduced me to refis. He started taking me through, hey, this is how much money you can save this person by lowering their rate 1%, 2%. I was so excited by refinances and saving people money. I just went to the restaurant and said, what's your rate? What's your rate? What's your rate? What's your rate? Anybody that I thought could benefit from it, I refinanced them. I ended up refinancing maybe 6 or 7 people, and I was hooked.
So this was all happening around the time of the pandemic.
Yes.
And during this time, or around that time, you found an opportunity with real estate agents. How did you do that?
So I'm new in the business. I'm desperate for business, whatever I can do, right? Mark always taught me that if you reach out to realtors, you may not always be their A guy, but you can offer to be their B guy, and you can probably get business that way. So during COVID, everybody's minimum credit scores went up. Everybody went up to 640, 660 credit scores. I still had brokers like SunWest that would do 580. So I started reaching out, hey, does your normal guy still do 580? Does your normal guy still do 580? A bunch of them said they didn't. I started to collect referrals that way, and once you start closing some of those tougher deals, you know, those realtors, one of them's in the crowd right now, Jermaine, they just start cheerleading for you because you're doing something that somebody else couldn't do for them.
So speaking of those tougher files, not only did you start to embrace this, it basically became your niche, right?
Very much so. Very much so. I love it. There's pros and cons with every niche in this business. Does everybody want the $300,000, $400,000 conventional loan? Of course they do, but that comes with its own problems. High credit score borrowers that can go anywhere they want and do anything they want, rate shop you, whatever it is. When people have a tougher time getting approved, or they need more hand-holding, or whatever it is, they are so much easier to work with. They don't shop you. They are unbelievably appreciative. And it was just something that I seem to be able to do better than most people. I don't know if it's a work ethic thing or whatever, but I've just always been willing to kind of go that extra mile.
You know, we talked to a lot of our guests about, you know, what it means to help people achieve the dream of home ownership. But something that we really don't address a whole lot is there are a lot of would-be home buyers, consumers out there who have been denied for a loan before. And that has got to be, you know, a really tough thing to go through. So from your perspective, when you're able to help somebody get into a home who has been denied before, what's the impact for you on your business?
There's a lot of impacts. I mean, first of all, we can get wrapped up in the business, but for a lot of people, buying a home is a life-changing thing. If they're a first-time buyer, if they're the first time in their family, if they're coming from a 2-bedroom apartment, whatever, it's really life-changing for them. So first and foremost, that's the biggest reward. How it's been changed for my business is people really seem to trust me. They really seem to trust me. I'm sorry, I forgot.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to ask, when you're able to help that borrower who's been denied before.
Yes.
And I'm sure they are so grateful to you, but bigger picture, what's the impact for you?
So they tell every single person that they know. They tell every single person that they know, this guy was able to get it done. He held my hand. He was nice to me, whatever it is. Not only that, but when the client is unbelievably happy, then the realtor is unbelievably happy. When the realtor is unbelievably happy, they tell more realtors how happy they are, and that just snowballs.
There's a specific story that you and I chatted about a couple of weeks ago, and I want you to tell this for our listeners and our viewers on YouTube. It's about a mom that you very recently helped. Tell us about that one.
So I'll try to get the story as accurate as possible. This client had come to me with a purchase agreement in hand, denied by 3 other lenders. She had a 600 credit score, and she was currently on maternity leave. So anybody that looked at it was basically saying, oh, and I'm sorry, she needed down payment assistance as well. So anybody that was looking at it was basically saying no. Well, I took some extra time to look at it, and I discovered a couple of things. The first thing was that you can't deny somebody for being on maternity leave. The rule is that if they go back to work within 60 days, then they're eligible. The second thing was, the only reason her score was low was because she had a maxed out credit card for $700. Anybody who knows what they're looking at could have pulled up her credit report, saw that maxed out card, and said, this is going to increase your score. So I saw that her score would increase to a 660. I asked her about her rental history because I knew I had a down payment assistance program that would allow manual underwrites as long as I had a 660 score. So, long story short, we paid off the card, we increased her score up to 675, we got her down payment assistance, we got her seller's concessions. She ended up walking away from the closing table with a check for $1,000. Her newborn baby of a week was there. And that was the first time that I had worked with that realtor who had specifically come to me because she heard that I could get things done. And the listing realtor, who was really, really mad when I, first got the loan, now loves me and sends me business as well.
It's an amazing story, not just of helping this person who clearly was appreciative and, like you said, had a week-old baby. That's just incredible. But the fact that you were able to leverage that into, relationships with these agents, that's just great. So,
and I tell them, hey, I'm trying to be humble about it, but this is something that I can do that other people can't do, and I try to leverage that as much as I can.
Another thing that you do that I absolutely love is you never say no to a client. What do you say instead of no?
Steps A, B, and C. So it's never no, it's maybe it's not right now, but there's always a plan of action. Whether they have a 400 credit score or they're self-employed and they need to be W-2, whatever it is, or even however unrealistic it may seem, I will always give them a path to success, and I will let the realtor know that I've given them a path to success. And just real quick on that, I have had people that have come to me with 550 credit scores and no jobs and come back to me a year later with a 640 and a salary. And they just are appreciative that you took the time to help them.
It's a great message to people that just because it doesn't work right now doesn't mean that we can't help you out in the future. To wrap this up, and we talked a little bit about your story, going from hospitality, working at the restaurant, no previous experience in the business, you got a mentor, and you've done some great things since. What do you enjoy most about the job?
It's tough to say, man. As weird as this may sound, I truly believe that I'm on this earth to do this job. This is what I really believe I was meant to do, and the bartending I truly see as a stepping stone to where I'm at now. The job is amazing. It's really anything that you want it to be. There is no ceiling, there is no cap. You have people in here, myself included, no college education, who are multimillionaires. They're social media influencers, they're financial advisors, they're whatever they really want to be. And I love that you can get whatever you put into this job out of it. If you work your ass off, you will find success, and if you don't, you won't.
Speaks to why we're here today, to celebrate the broker community, the impact that everybody here can make on consumers, realtors, and also, like you said, pursuing your own dreams. And it's great to see you not only chasing yours, but it seems like living your dream in this career. So good on you, and thanks for joining us. Shane Ouimet with Better Rate Mortgage. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Appreciate it.
On Good Better Broker at UWM Live as we welcome in Linus Thalman. He is the CEO of Golden Mortgage, He is based here in Metro Detroit. Linus, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So I got to ask you, first of all, what do you think of UWM Live, the atmosphere, all these mortgage professionals from around the country gathering to celebrate what it is this industry does?
I think it's special. I mean, it says a lot about UWM that you can have 5,500 clients, brokers that will take time out of their week, time away from their family to come and learn and get better. So it says a lot about the loyalty to UWM and what they provide.
You're a perfect person to ask this because you just celebrated your 1-year anniversary as a mortgage broker. So as you reflect back on the past year and your previous experience in the industry, what comes to mind?
Happy to still be open. No, it's been, you can call it a challenging few years. I'm calling it the COVID hangover years. We had the run in COVID and then the hangover, as I'm calling it. And it's also presented quite a shift in the industry, in my opinion. And, it's not only staying open in this first year and navigating through those challenges, but I feel like we're thriving. I feel like we're ahead of where we thought we would be. And, shout out to my team. I think our biggest accomplishment is that we crossed over 100 5-star reviews in that first year, and that means a lot to me.
I'm going to ask you more about that in a moment, but first, take me back to what you just said. You think there's been a shift in the industry.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, technology for the most part, and, I didn't know what I didn't know was out there. I just always, I'm doing a pretty good job. I did a lot of loans over the last 15, 20 years, and last 15 years being retail, and then once I really started looking under the hood and seeing that it was easier and faster and cheaper to do a mortgage, it opened up my eyes a lot. And just with, somebody said it in one of the speakers earlier that if you're carrying on to the COVID year, like as part of your business, and that's where you're reflecting your business is at, you're carrying baggage. Like we're going through a shift in the industry as a whole, in the economy as a whole.
All right, you have always been referral only. So how do you earn those referrals?
World-class experience. Like I said, with the 5-star reviews is a reflection of that. But you can say that, everybody intends to do a great job. I think the key is having a process and the right people in place to carry through with that and execute that at a high level.
You've been in the business for over 20 years now, and that's not to say that you haven't experienced the housing industry previously, because as we were just talking about before the interview started, your parents are custom home builders. Mm-hmm. What was it like growing up in that environment and getting to kind of see some of the things about the housing industry firsthand?
Well, it was great. Shout out to my parents that taught me a lot of hard work and commitment, but always being around real estate and always being at those homes and driving around with my dad to watching these new homes being built and seeing the pride in people's eyes that when they were going through the process and the finished product meant a lot.
Let's talk about your relationships with your real estate agents. How do you provide value for them?
One word to sum it up: certainty. I read something a couple weeks ago and it hit me hard, is that we sometimes get focused on what the terms are when you're negotiating on real estate, but really what a realtor, the number one thing that they want is certainty. So if they give a client to me, they know that the client is going to get trusted advice, there's going to be a process associated with it, and then when they get into contract, it's going to close.
All right, you also have a coaching background, Linus. What does that aspect of your business allow you to do for your agents?
Well, for me, it's a plan. All of that, and again, giving shout outs to all my previous coaches in the coaching company. I wouldn't be here without them because they gave me so much material and guidance and accountability. But for my real estate agents, it's not only where they have that certainty because I've been taught the right way to do business and to do mortgages, but then I also will share with them, and that's a big value add. And say, hey, we're going to have certainty in the process and deliver a world-class experience. And then on top of it, why don't I share some of these ideas on how we can generate and convert more leads? So
you have a coach yourself, and I want to get into that now, but I want to ask you, first of all, how did you first determine that you needed a coach and that was something that you were going to pursue?
It's a great question. So for me, I have an athletic background. I was big into sports, always followed sports. I've been passionate about sports. And you look at most winning organizations, and good segue that Bill Belichick is going to be here today, one of the greatest and most admired coaches in any sport. And there has to be that structure and that process and that accountability. So when, my first day on the job in mortgages, I don't know if I knew how to spell mortgage, but But I looked at my first mentor and that boss at that time and said, listen, you just put the plan in front of me and I will go execute it. You just tell me what to do and I'm going to do it with energy and high execution. So for coaching to get into that, where I was drawn to that, was that all of that structure and that plan, because other than that, you just kind of wake up and just do whatever happens and be reactive instead of proactive.
So fast forward to today, you still have a coach who still helps you put together a plan. How does that help you with accountability?
I don't like to let people down. It's one of my biggest fears, personally. I want to do well. I want to be a good example. I own a company now. I have to do well. I have to provide for the families that work for me. I have to provide for my family. I want to be a good example to my kids. And so I know it works too. I know that if you just go in and do this, that hit me hard too. And I literally put it on my family chat this morning when Matt played that clip of Kenny Smith saying, and I don't want to misquote it, but champions just do it every day, and it's nothing it's not talent. It's just doing it every single day, where a lot of people just do it sometimes. Yeah,
I love that quote as well from Kenny Smith about what extraordinary actually means. It's just doing the ordinary stuff extra. That's the difference between people that win and people that don't. Let's talk about having a plan, because this is something you talk about with your coaching clients. Why is it so important in mortgage loan origination to have a business plan?
I think it's activity leads to, it's a simple formula. Activity leads to leads. Having a skill set that you're working all the time and a process to convert the leads will turn into paychecks, and then having on operations and a process so that you can scale that and focus on having that activity and to create more leads and generate more leads and convert more leads, and then running a profit and loss, and then which then turns into the last final aspect of saving money. I think if you're not doing this to do all of those things on top of and also save money, then what are you doing it for? So having a plan is the biggest thing.
There's saving money, Linus, and then there's making money. And this is a great line you have that you talk about with the people you coach. It's about $50K in 90 days. Yeah. Tell us about that one.
All right. So as you mentioned earlier, I like to present to real estate groups and give them value and help them and give them some ideas to generate leads and have this plan and be consistent with it. So we've all been there. We go to a seminar or something, a class, and we get really motivated for a little bit, but then we don't execute it through a plan and consistency. So that saying right there is what when I teach. What Matt does is the perfect sales week, and we fill out a form for our coaching program to look at the activity that you're doing. And I say, listen, if you fill all of this out and you do it 90 days straight, I guarantee you that you'll give yourself a $50,000 raise. And unfortunately, distractions happen and we don't do that. So a lot of people won't execute that plan, but it is guaranteed. And I know that because I've seen so many people do it.
There are also the 3 Ds that you teach. What are those?
Drifting, driven, and directed. So as a society, we're misled that as long as you're driven, you'll be successful. And first of all, you have to define what success means to you, because your definition of success might be different than mine. We don't want to spend much time drifting. I think we all know what that is, where we're not doing anything efficient. Right now, with social media and everything, we catch ourselves drifting a lot. I know my kids do. I have to give them limited time, screen time. And then driven is something that's usually natural. I just want to be better and I want to do great. Like I said, my parents taught me a really good work ethic and I carried that on, but that only gets you so far. The most successful people typically have the most direction. So whenever you're doing any kind of activity during the day, you want to think to yourself and you want to be more aware, is where would this activity fall in which one of these boxes? I think that it should be like, you should allow yourself 5 to 10% of drifting, relaxing, whatever. And then the rest should all be in the driven and directed, with the majority in it directed. Directed means, a partner, a spouse that you're held accountable by, a boss that you're held accountable by, a coaching program, faith, whatever it might be. I think that you should spend a lot of your time being directed by the right people and surrounding yourself with the right people. people and you'll have success.
It's a great message, and obviously it applies to so many things outside of just doing loans. It is a great just way to kind of approach life in general and how you want to live the best life you possibly can. Part of your future plan for the company, Linus, and we mentioned it, you just celebrated your 1-year anniversary as a broker, but you're now looking at recruiting LOs.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you?
Having a plan. First of all, I have to focus on it. My first year was let me get my personal production up. Let me get this process down. Second year, let's start going sharing the word. And so now I'm entering that second year and I'm sharing the word. Like, listen, I told you I was happy to be open after the first year. When I was at a big firm, and I'm sure, have you seen Jerry Maguire, the movie Jerry Maguire? Okay. So there was some culture shift going at my previous firm and whatnot on the retail side. And, there was talk amongst us producers and partners, like maybe we should look at something different. I looked at UWM, being a broker, I thought there was an advantage, and I said, let's go, and I'm walking out, and I was Jerry Maguire holding the goldfish bowl, and nobody followed me. Okay, and it was very humbling and also drove me to do better and make sure that this worked out, and it's just been so much easier. I'm using the retail as like one of the examples because they don't, like me, they don't know what they don't know. So it's my job to go out there and say, listen, you're a really good loan rep and you can do this much easier by using UWM's technology and their process, and then on top of it through my coaching and coaching them on an internal process, hold them accountable, show them that process, what that looks like, and then, like I said, deliver world-class experience. So it's just really just sharing the message that there's a better way of doing it.
Well, it took guts for you to be that guy who walked out and nobody followed you, but it seems like it's worked out pretty well. Look, you've only been in the broker channel for a year, but it seems to me like you're already a tremendous ambassador for everything that Wholesale stands for, and you're going to be the ambassador of Quan. I just know it. Jerry Maguire reference for any LO who chooses to come work with you. So keep up the great work. Thank you for joining us today. Linus Thalman with Golden Mortgage. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Irvin. Thank you.
Back here on Good Better Broker at UWM Live, as we are joined by Fannie Mae West. She is a mortgage and wealth strategist with Optist Inc., and she is out of Columbus, Ohio. Fannie Mae, great to see you.
I am so glad to be here.
You and I first met several years ago. We were actually just talking about this. We did an interview over Zoom during COVID about what it was like for you to become a mortgage broker and how things were going with your business. And now you're here at UWM Live on this great day celebrating the industry. What's it like to be here?
It is so real. The most wonderful thing is the collaboration, the people you meet, and it's just exciting. Like, you come out here and you see the different things and you learn about the different tools. Every time I come out here, I learn something different to help push the needle in my business.
It's great to hear. And a bit about you for our listeners and those watching us. You're an Army veteran, so thank you for your service. You're also a licensed minister. And yes, if you didn't already catch this off the top of the interview, she has a name that was meant for the mortgage business, Fannie Mae. You've been in the business since 2007, and you told me recently, Fannie Mae, that you actually kind of took a step back and you looked at how you're doing business and how you're getting messaging out there. What made you do this?
Well, I was reflecting on that, and I was telling somebody else this. I read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, years ago. And as I see the market shifting, it's like you have to shift with the market as well. And I was shifting, but I felt like I was losing my voice and what my mission is and who I am to serve. So I had to step back to come back.
I love that. That's applicable for anything in life. You also ask yourself this question, and I want you to tell it. I'm not going to say it. I want you to tell our listeners about the question that you asked yourself. And I can prompt you if you want me to.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to prompt me.
All right. It's how can I impact people in a way that will make me feel good? What does that mean to you?
That means everything to me. And that's kind of like what I was saying. I was doing things, but it wasn't from the heart. And I was doing things just to do things, just to move forward. But then I had to take a step back and say, Fannie, what are you doing? What's important to you? And ever since I got in business, it's all about growth and helping people move forward and the real change. And so I didn't feel like I was doing that. I felt like I was working. And I don't want to work. That's why I got in business for myself. I want to enjoy what I do, who I'm around, and who I impact, and who I serve.
You also said that you were kind of feeling like an order taker, and that came from one specific interaction. So tell me about the interaction and how it helped you shift your mindset.
Being an order taker, well, it's been so many.
Not just one, more than a few.
But one of the things I think that comes to mind right now is someone called and they were just like asking me about rates, and then I can close quickly. We have very competitive rates, but I didn't feel like I impacted them, right? I like to start with, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What are your goals? Because I think you should tailor your mortgage to what your goals are. And it was just like, I just want to get the loan. I just want to get the lowest rate. And that's not how I do business. And so I just had to restructure and make sure that was being heard. Even when you call on the phone asking me what your rate is, it's like, let me find out what you want. You know what I mean? And it's not just a rate. You have to figure out what's your long-term goals, what's your short-term goals, how long are you going to be in a house, you know? Okay.
No, I love hearing this, and this epiphany, if you want to call it that you had, has resulted in a change that you've made in your approach. Walk us through how it's now different.
So how it's now different is, before I blah 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 blah, I can do blah 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 blah, right? It's getting to know my clients, what they want, what they need, what their goals are, and my background is in finances. And so it's like I see a lot, because as a mortgage person, a loan officer, you know everything about them. You know where they go out to eat at, how much they spend, and then it's like sometimes people want a certain dollar amount, but if they shift their mind, they don't have to be house poor, right? They can, it's just rebudgeting. So that was the shift for me, to really want to help people really live a life according to their purpose. And so that's how I lead when they call, right? What are you trying to achieve? Why is this mortgage important to you? Why do you want to buy a home, right? And then how long are you going to be there? Do you have children? Are you retiring soon? All of those goes into the programs that we can put you in, the loan programs that would be better fit for the person. And then I give them options. That's why I love becoming a broker.
You're having deeper conversations. That's
Yes.
what you're doing. And you also told me that you're making sure that a mortgage actually fits someone's lifestyle. You're doing more consultations.
Yes.
And you're setting realistic expectations. Why is that so important?
That is so important because it's like, that's why you have to ask those questions, right? What are your goals? Because I had a client, she wants to purchase a home, but then this is her goal. We talked about it, but then it's like she wasn't finding what she wanted. And then she had money when we started, and then she spent money. So it's like, what are you doing? Is this really important to you, right? And then setting the realistic expectations to say, okay, this is what your budget is. This is what you need. You can't, this is not the time to do that, right? Yes.
Being real with people. That's what it comes down to.
And I had to have that real conversation.
Yeah.
Do you really want this or not? Or do you want to go on a trip? Which one is important? Building wealth or spending it? Oh, that's a good one.
See, we're going to have to write that down. So you mentioned a couple of minutes ago that your background is in finance, Fannie Mae, and now this is kind of spilling over into your relationships with your real estate partners, because not only are you helping them with their business, you're also offering to help them with their own personal finances.
Yes, and that has been a game changer, right? Because it's like, okay, now you're making the money, now what are you doing with it? I met a realtor, and she was doing very well. very well. And I said, well, how does your retirement plan look? I don't have one. I said, well, how long do you plan on working? I don't know. I can't quit now because the money is good and they don't have a retirement account. Those are things that I like to dive deep in with my referral partners, with my clients. I just had this conversation with another one of my clients that purchased a home. He was a business owner, and those were the conversations that we had. You know what I mean? And so because of the network that I built, I was able to refer him to a CPA and a financial planner to help him. So it's not just a mortgage. It's just not the mortgage for you.
You're an advisor.
Yes.
And that's, I believe, the way that our most successful clients all look at themselves. So we've talked about the changes you've made. You seem like you're refreshed. You have this new approach to the business. So how do you feel about the future based on these changes that you've recently made?
I feel like the future is limitless. I don't feel like I'm limited. The only limitation I have is the false beliefs that I tell myself. And I have to do self-talk every day for myself because I know what I'm here to do. And so I don't, even with like the changes in the market and where we are, I've never let that hold me back because I know the value that I have. And we just looked at some statistics today. What was it, like 6 million homes were bought, right? And so people are buying and people are selling. It's about what are you going to do and what do you want to accomplish? And that's what I had to rethink and self-talk myself. Who do I want to impact, regardless of if it's a high rate, low rate? I'm a strategist, so I'm going to help you strategize to get to where you want to be, and that's the change that really has come.
It's very admirable, that you have had the self-awareness to look inward and really figure out, what you want your business to look like and what kind of person you want to be as a mortgage broker. So we appreciate you sharing this with us. Always great to see you. And thanks again for being here. Fannie Mae West with Optist Inc. Thanks again, Fannie Mae.
I just keep smiling. This was great. Thank you.
So much fun. Great job. Good Better Broker continues from UWM Live 2025 as we bring in Nathanael Perez. He is a loan officer with Lend Financial Services out of Cape Coral, Florida. Nathanael, great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So a bit about you for our audience. 9 years in the business now. You come from a family of mortgage people, and you actually graduated high school early, got licensed, and got into the business. So I guess that kind of makes you the LeBron James of mortgages?
I guess you could say that, yeah.
So tell me about growing up in a family where mortgages was the family business.
Well, I worked under my father for, ever since I was little. So whenever I graduated early, I graduated December 2016, about 6 months earlier than my class. And I was like, I got my mortgage license, I got my real estate license, and I told my father, I said, hey, I'm ready to go do some loans. And he said, before you do that, you're going to go to ops. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no. I was like, I'm not going to give you any loans. You're going to learn the business inside and out so that whenever you're ready, you know everything. And then, by the way, I'm not giving you any of my stuff. So he said, I was all right. So I learned everything regarding the inside and out of the business, regarding, tech, securities, things like that. And then around 2020 is when I finally got my foot wet in the business. And then I really didn't start taking off till about 22, 23. Yeah.
So what's it been like? How do you describe the path that you've taken since then?
That's a good question. I would say that I'm very glad that I got into the business whenever the market was tough, because there's a mass exodus in the market, and that made me double down. I believe in where when everybody's running away, you run towards. So that's been a key to my success, where, there's been trials and tribulations like anything, but if you double down and you really believe in yourself and you believe in what you're doing, you're going to make it through. And here I am today talking to you.
Hey, it's my honor to talk to you. And
Likewise.
One thing that you're focused on, Nathanael, is supporting your partner's growth instead of marketing yourself.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Very simple. What I do is I market their listings, I market what they're doing, and I sit down with them one-on-one and I say, hey, so what kind of demographic do you want to get into? That's something that I've been getting very heavily into very recently. And so I try to support them where they need to be supported. So I don't just do like a random flyer. I don't just go to open houses. I try to help them build their brand, because at the end of the day, they might work for a brokerage, but they're self-employed contractors. So I try to build that rapport with them and then try to push them. If they succeed, I succeed. And the biggest thing is what can I do to help you win?
Providing value.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. You were telling me that your best years in the business have actually been since rates went up.
Correct.
Why is that?
Relationship focused. A lot of people during the pandemic were focused on refis, and then once those started drying up, they weren't focused on the realtors, and the realtors went elsewhere. I doubled down on the realtors. I did not focus on the refi business, mainly because it was just by coincidence. I just wanted to build my realtor portfolio, but then just by happenstance, it just so happens that refis died, and then realtor relations grew, and I was already on that wave way before anybody else, or the majority.
And you kind of describe that as a paradigm shift, right? The fact that you were able to, like you said a few minutes ago, go the opposite direction of what everybody else was doing.
Correct.
What is it about you that makes you want to do that?
I've always been a contrarian. It's that simple. I've always seen things like, at a little bit of a different angle. So I guess it's just a me thing where I just I'd rather do it this way because that's just my gut feeling.
That's great.
So that's how I run.
Hey, I know another guy like that. It's worked out pretty well for him. His name is Matt Ishbia.
Yes.
So good.
He's my biggest role model. And yeah.
All right. Well. Speaking of that, and the impact that UWM has had on you, you first came to Success Track back in 2019.
Yeah.
What happened during that trip, and how did it impact you?
Well, I came to the campus where you guys only had the North Building. And I walked in, and it was just, I just couldn't describe it. What I learned there is what does discipline and what does commitment do, and how far you can take it. And not only that, I saw Matt as a guy that you could touch. Like typically you see CEOs, people that are going to be like in a private office. He was walking around, tapped me on my shoulder, say, hey, what's up, man? And then I took a picture with him, and then I was like, this is exactly who I want to be. I am very ambitious, but I like to be in the weeds of the business and within the people. So that's why when it comes to my business, I've been doubling down when it comes to investing my partners with events and things like that, so I can be more in the weeds of the business.
Speaking of events, you're actually in the midst of creating your own version of UWM Live.
Yes.
Tell us how you're doing it.
Very simple. So I started off this year was I did my first event, which is at my local cigar bar, and it was a massive hit. About 100 people showed up, cigar smokers, not cigar smokers, but relationships were built. And then now what I'm working on is building curated experiences where I get to attract the realtors and the partners that I want, regardless of like law firms, insurance companies, and curating those experiences is going to attract just more people. Eventually what I want to do by 2026 is to have a large expo, like a summit, in my local area where it's going to be the top leaders in each industry talking, and then it's going to be the newbies or the people that are trying to go in there to be inspired. The same way as you do it, UWM Life, but a lot more broader.
We look forward to it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear all about it. All right, when it comes to realtors, I always love to ask clients this question. Are you more focused on quality or quantity?
I used to be focused on quality. This year, can you repeat that question?
Of course.
Yeah.
When it comes to realtors, are you more focused on quality or quantity?
I used to be focused on quantity. Now I'm more focused on quality, because whenever you're investing in people, you are distributing resources. And these people, you got to see results. So there's one point in time where I was over-investing in people I shouldn't have been investing in. Now I'm going to be more of a scalpel. Who am I investing in and how much should I invest in? So I'm more regarding the whole quality aspect.
All right, you actually had a great line that you shared with me when we were talking on the phone in advance of the interview. And you told me that refinances are market-driven, but realtor relationships are not.
Right.
What does that mean?
Well, look where we're at right now. Rates are bad, so therefore you're just not going to refi unless it's a cash out, right? But realtors, there's always going to be a demand for home purchases, and they're always going to be the expert. So regardless of rates going up or down, yeah, they might get slower or they might speed up, but at the end of the day, if you build a relationship, they're still going to send you clients. They're still going to send you leads, and if you invest in them as a partner, their growth is synonymous to your growth. That simple.
they're sending you leads, but you are teaching them how to get leads.
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, the biggest hurdle that I had in the beginning of in my start was new realtors saying, "Oh, I want you to give me leads." I don't believe in that. Number one is it's very costly. Two, you're not really being a realtor. Your job is to know exactly how to fish so that you can provide for yourself. So if I give you all the resources, a rising tide lifts all boats. Both of us will elevate together. But if I just give you an IV drip, you're never going to grow because you're going to depend on me, and I don't want you to depend on me. I want you to go for yourself so that we both can grow together.
It's exciting just to hear how passionate you are about the business,
Extremely.
everything that you're doing. And hey, you're a young guy, and it seems like you've got a lot of great things ahead of you. Thanks for joining us today, and keep up the great work. Nathanael Perez with Lend Financial Services. Thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure, man.
Back here on Good Better Broker at UWM Live, as we are joined by Frank Coto. He is the broker owner of Lincoln Lending Group in Tampa, Florida. Frank, great to see you.
Great to be here with you guys.
I mean, you bring an energy to the stage that I really can't say I've seen. And there's a lot of people that are here, a lot of people that are pumped up. When you think about just this atmosphere that we're in, UWM Live, all these mortgage pros from around the country, what do you think?
I think energy. I think fire. I think even for a guy like myself who wakes up every morning and I am my own coffee, I walk in this place and it amps me up. I tell some of my broker guys who didn't want to come, like, boss, why would you come? You don't need the energy. I said, no, I don't, but I love it. I bring something back every single time.
All right, you said you are your own energy, so no caffeine, no soda?
The only reason I drink coffee, I swear, is it's like a habit, like a treat. I just started drinking it a few years ago when I got an espresso machine, but no, I don't need it. I wake up with enough energy for everybody.
Hey, it's a blessing.
Yes.
So a little bit about you and your background, and we're going to get into the social media conversation here, because 10 years ago, Frank, you were resisting social media completely. Now you've got 23,000 followers on Instagram. So how in the heck did that happen?
Very long story short, I had lunch with a real estate agent who I wanted to do business with. I wanted his business. And he said, Frank, I love you. I love your energy. I love your company, your products. He goes, but I can't do business with you. I said, well, why not, Ryan? And he says, because you're not on Facebook. Right? And I'm like, I don't want to be on Facebook. I don't need the world knowing my information. But I walked out of that lunch meeting. I called up my assistant, who at the time was like 24 years old. And I said, open me a Facebook account. And the rest was history. I literally got on because of a real estate agent and just took it all from there.
So over the course of these 10 years, between that interaction with the real estate agent and now, how has your approach to social media evolved?
Tremendously. I learned, I guess you could say I learned the algorithm, or at least I learned what people tell me the algorithm is. And what I figured out is you just need to make it a habit. That's all I did. I just decided that there was going to be, just like people wake up and drink coffee every morning at the same time, I wake up and do a post. And I'll jump and answer another question we talked about.
Go ahead.
How did I learn to do the social media? Was another real estate agent brought me to lunch and taught me how to do reels in 10 minutes. Literally said, Frank, I can't believe you're not doing video. You're just doing posting, and posting so old school, just messaging people and posting. So she showed me in 10 minutes how to do a reel on Instagram. And that was probably only maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And then that's what I made into my habit. Every single morning, I do a good Franken morning reel.
For those of you that haven't seen, you got to go and check out Frank's socials. He does the Good Franken morning post. I mean, you can't just help but smile. I mean, yeah, you're providing value, you're letting people know what you're up to, but it also seems like a big part of your social media presence is just injecting positivity into the lives of your followers. Is that fair to say?
You nailed it. And that just started as a joke. It started as me waking up one morning. I was having a great morning as normal, and I got on and I just said, hey, everybody, good Franken morning. Here's what I'm going to do today. And I just watched a hockey game, and I did a Wayne Gretzky quote, said, did you know you miss every shot you don't take? Have a great Franken morning. I probably got 40 direct messages, like people texting me, calling me, saying, that was awesome. I really liked that. I loved your energy. I loved waking up to seeing that in the morning. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm on to something. And so that's now my habit in the morning is I do the Good Franken morning and I do a quote of the day every day.
So give us an idea of what you are getting from your social media content now.
So what social media did for me, the direct posting, all right, not the ads or anything like that, is it brought my circle very, very tight, very close. The best thing I can say is I was in a fraternity at Florida State 25 years ago, and you're tight with all these guys, but you don't talk to them for 2 decades. All of a sudden, they're calling me out of the woodwork. I just got a referral a month ago from the business partner of my high school class president, who I had not spoken to in 28 years. And the guy calls me from Germany. And I'm like, well, how did you know about me? But he goes, because Sean told me he watches your social media post every day. And he said, you're the right guy to talk to in Tampa. Out of nowhere. So what does social media do? It closes your circle in for you. It brings people back that you don't have time to talk to, you forgot about, or you just haven't seen in decades.
That's an amazing story, and it speaks to the power of social media. Yeah. And oh, by the way, it's free. It costs you nothing to post on social.
No, but you have to make a habit of it. That is the most important thing. Everybody is scared of social media, and I don't know how to do it. It's got to be a habit. You just got to do it once a day, at least.
And you're of the mind that referrals, like the one you just got, are better than leads.
Millions of times better. Anything I get off of social media is a direct referral. It is not a, hey, give this guy a call and see if he wants to talk to you. They've already watched me. They know me. They can see more about me than many people. So they feel a connection. So and by the way, when you pick up and call them, they feel like they're talking to a celebrity half the time. I'm not an influencer, maybe by the numbers or something, but no, they're like, man, I can't believe you called me. This is amazing. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Picking up the phone and calling them is awesome.
Well, speaking of, and this may surprise some people, and I was a little bit surprised by it when I first looked at your account. You've got your personal cell right on there, and you don't just put it on there, Frank. You encourage people to text you.
I do. That came from something my grandfather, who was a realtor in the 1950s, told me about relationships and how to deal with people. And one thing he had said is, you have to deal with people the way that you want to be dealt with yourself. So if I'm going to work with somebody and I'm going to call them, I don't want to talk to a call center. I don't want to hit a bunch of buttons. I want to feel that person thinks I'm important. And what does that mean? I'm calling him on his personal cell phone. Guys, I don't have 2 phones. I have 1 phone. Everybody goes, oh, that's your business line. Nope. That's been my cell phone number for 25 years. And it always will be. And they think you're going to get blown up and spammed. Yeah, I get junk calls, but God bless the iPhone these days. It tells you when it's a telemarketer or something like that and hit the little red button.
This is interesting because when you and I first started communicating, I sent you an email, like I do with any other client, and then you asked me to text you, which no problem. And then I noticed something when your text popped up, and it involved a picture of you. And I want you to explain this to our listeners because I think this is absolutely genius.
Yeah, so here's the golden tidbit for you guys today. The iPhone now, when you send somebody a text for the first time, even if they're not in your contacts, it pulls up a little thing on the top and it says, share your picture, something to that effect. If you've saved it in your profile, you got to do that first. You hit share, and then anytime you call them from that day forward, your picture is on their phone. So here's what I teach my guys, just like I teach my real estate partners. Don't call them first. Send them a text first. Share your picture with them, wait 30 seconds for it to go through, and then when you call them, your face is on the screen. How much more likely are you going to answer a phone call, whether you know the person or not, if you see this image of the person? And listen, not for nothing, sex sells. So if you're a great looking originator or real estate agent, I'll tell them all the time, like, you really need to have your picture show up, because not for nothing, somebody's going to answer more often than answering for me.
So with the text messaging too, there's more to it than that. You said that it's a better response rate. You talked about the image showing up, and basically in your mind, we have reached the point here in 2025 where email is a thing of the past.
Yeah, I joke. I say email's a fax line, right? The only purpose for email, and this is already starting to go away with the way texting is working, is document transfer, right? That's what we use fax machines for. That's basically email. About 8 years ago, I hired an assistant, and I made it my mission to get out of email. I feel like email creates us into slaves, right? You do sit there and react to your email all day long. Text messaging is more personable, it's faster, it's more to the point, and the answer rate is 1,000-fold. I told guys 6 years ago when they tried to fight me, I don't want to send text messages from my personal phone. Then you're not going to talk to as many people as I am. The other thing is it's easy to respond. I don't go to bed at night without responding to every single text message. But I do have someone reading my emails. That's the only reason I knew you had sent me one.
I mean, but you make a great point, because even me, you know, the iPhone reconfigured your inbox a couple months back. I can't stand it. And guess what? I'm not reading all my emails now because I can't figure out where they all are.
Yeah, and you have 100 folders, focused, other, all these things.
All of that, yes, you hit the nail on the head. But guess what? I see every single one of my text messages, and I always read those.
Yeah.
So I think it's an outstanding point.
Absolutely.
So we're on the subject of technology, and you really think that technology has taken away from personal relationships. How does that impact the way you're doing business, Frank?
So, I mean, it's so cliche, but to say get back to basics, you have to create personal relationships. I just instructed my team this last week. If you want to build a customer for life, they have to know you and you have to know them, right? If you're just the guy who's going to email and text them, you're not building a relationship. You got to get on the phone. You got to see them in person. You have to shake their hand. The best thing you can do for somebody is break bread with them. Have a meal with them. Take the time. If you have, and here's another little trick, I eat out every single day. I go to lunch, and I don't know how I'm this skinny, but I go to lunch every single day at a restaurant. And what do? I bring a client, a referral source, a new business partner every single day. And that's how I create great long-lasting relationships. I get out of the digital at first, then we can move to the digital after I know you.
So let's zoom out for a bit and talk about just one of the foundational beliefs of your company, and that is there should be a loan product for everyone. How has that philosophy helped you grow your business over the years?
So that is one of the cornerstones of Lincoln Lending Group. As a very young originator in my early 20s, I worked for a company who did a ton of subprime loans. And I thought I had everything. What I learned very quickly when I started working with real estate agents was, if a real estate partner calls me, no matter how close I am with them, and I don't have the product, what are they going to do? They're going to call another one of me. So I fixed that problem. I made it to where 99% of my real estate partners don't need to call somebody else. And if I find out they do, I get offended and I call them up. I just did it 2 days ago. Somebody put a post after I told them I had a product. I'm like, why would you do that? But you have to have what they need. If not, they're going to seek it out. And agents don't wait. They'll do it in 10 seconds if you don't answer the phone or you don't have the product.
It's a commoditized business.
It is.
And you have to realize that the sooner you do it, the better off you're going to be. Moving forward now, one of your main areas of focus is recruiting. So let me ask you, Frank, why would someone want to work for you at Lincoln Lending Group?
So I can sit here and tell you culture, I can tell you products, I can tell you pricing. We're the best at all those. I'm extremely confident in that. Not arrogant, like Matt would say, but confident, right? Big difference. The main reason to work for me is I'm in the trenches. I'm a producing owner, all right? Regularly do, around 100 million or more and run this company and multiple other companies. But here's the key. I'm not in the private jet, flying around the country, barking orders to everybody down on the ground who are the ones taking bullets. I am in the trenches. My sales manager is in the trenches. Our other managers are in the trenches with you. They all are required to produce. Why? Because we want to teach you what we do. I'm not going to tell you to do something. I'm going to show you how to do it. I fight the same underwriters, the same guidelines, deal with the same customers, have to go to the same meetings as you do. That's the difference at Lincoln Lending Group. So when I get up there and preach to you, I'm telling you what I experienced. And by the way, I'm spending the money and I'm making the mistakes so you don't have to.
Hey, well said. And you took the words out of my mouth. You practice what you preach, and that is a very, very noble thing to do and a great way to run your business. So it's been great catching up with you. Continued success, and always great hanging out with Frank the Bank, Frank Coto from Lincoln Lending Group. Great to have you here.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for watching Good Better Broker and helping us support independent mortgage brokers everywhere. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.